Hi, I'm Scott Garibay, and this is Nerdarchy. Of course, we're here with Ted and Dave, and we are going to talk about high-level campaigns versus low-level campaigns.
So, Nerdarchy, for nerds, by nerds. So, what do you guys, what do you guys think?
So, in the 15 years, 20 years our group has been together, we've had one high-level campaign ever. And it started, it was a game where I was like, hey, here's a bunch of pre-gens for my custom homebrew Shattered Realm, and in that world it was basically there was a war that was waging between the Psy Lords and
Ogre Thanes.
No. The Ogre Thanes were another faction.
Okay,
but the main ones were the Psy Lords and the Sorcerer Kings.
Okay.
And the idea was most of the world were floating islands. And between them was this ether that they could make, out of a special material, they could make ships that would sail across the ether. Yeah, this is pre-Eberron, by the way. We actually pitched the idea in their thing. I think they stole it. But
I pitched one too. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
But no, so I started a 5th level characters, and they actually went all the way up to 18th level. Was the highest game we've ever run at our table. But before that, all of our games, usually fizzled around 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th level.
It was usually between 7th and 12th. Is where a lot of our games died. We had a lot of guys get up to the 7 range. I know the game that Ryan ran, was up to 12th.
Oh yeah, that was one of our higher ones
with the druid and the.
I always felt
sort of human that went to
as DMs. Do you guys feel like there's a sweet spot?
Oh, okay. So it's a good question. So one, I am crazy high level. I absolutely reject low level campaigns. I don't actually think they're functional anymore. So I have a radically different opinion than most GMs, and I've completely adopted a new style. And this has been percolating in my mind for a few years, and I just ran a campaign which I was blessed to have Ted in. It was a 7-session campaign. We had a female player. We had people of all different ages.
We started for 2 sessions.
That's
maybe
true.
3.
That's exactly right. Yeah, and that's right. So Dave was in there too, and even Ryan played for 1 session. We had 9 players at one.
I think I was actually there for 3. I think I was one there by myself.
You were there 1 by yourself, and then 2 with me.
Yeah, and then I got called back to work, and and I work nights. You guys play at night.
And it was really by far my most successful campaign ever. It was 7 sessions, and so actually it has cemented my opinion on this. So I am high level campaign with extremely fast accelerated stories. So here's my take on this whole thing. 1, I would never touch level 1 to 3 ever again in any campaign. Level 1 is level 4 now in my opinion. So I start all campaigns at 4 or higher, right? And then also if players play in a session, 1 session, they're guaranteed a level. Right, so I have abandoned the whole EXP for this monster, blah blah blah, and then what I try to do is I try to make every single session 1 module. In that, the whole story is told in that, and at the end they've slain the last monster and they're at an end, and then I add 2 to 4 months of game time in which they will level 1 or 2 levels from there. And so what this allows is 7 sessions. You can go from 4th to 20th. And I want to tell those stories again and again and again and again, right? And so this is a really radical opinion of high-level campaigns, and I'm selling this. I really think everybody should be going to this. And the reason why is, again, the competition we have out there is incredible. It's Netflix, it's HBO, it's tattoos, it's the world has become, we are in a post-scarcity economy, right? For many people, I know there's still people that are struggling out there, but for many people it's post-scarcity, and everybody has a million things they can do, and so D&D is a hard sell. And so to me, you want to get people in and say, you're going to see the whole life story arc of this character, and you're going to see crazy progression of leveling, and you're going to see the whole story arc, and you're going to go from adventure to legend. And one of the nice things is I've seen this work. People are, we're about maybe a half a year out from that other campaign, and people still talk about it, and there's a lot of goodwill connected to that campaign, and it's convinced me that this is, and so that's my take. I really like high level, and I think it's just a modern concept that is due its time, and we need to start accelerating, iterating these campaigns faster.
Well, one of the things about 5th edition is like 1 through 3, you're really is your apprenticeship. You know, it takes 3rd level to actually be what you're trying to be.
Yep.
In 5th edition for the most part, and that's why our online game.
You started at 3rd.
I started at 3rd.
Yeah.
You know, so the Outcast, our urban Underdark City campaign, started at 3rd level because I'm like, you know what, I want you guys to be into the profession that you're in. That happens at 3rd level. Let's start there. But you know, I've always enjoyed the lower levels. I feel like, you know, it's when the characters really have to struggle and everything is much harder and challenging, and the world's really, you know, a lot scarier. Where, like, you know, you're like, goblins, I don't know how many. Where you're 10th level, you're like, goblins, I go clear that warren out myself. You guys take a nap.
And there's definitely an appeal to that, and you know, I've been privileged to be in, you know, now a couple of your games, Scott. I've been, you know, clearly running in the games of Nerdarchy for decades, and I've had a handful of other, you know, DMs of friends throughout the years, and I've seen more low-level games than I have high-level games, and as a player who has really seen you know, the advantages of both sides, you know, I can sit back and I could play any style of game. You know, as a running situation, I think it's far easier to challenge the lower levels because you have not, you know, run into the, well, I've just got a massive amount of hit points and I've got, you know, all of these magic items, and as the players get levels, they all have abilities, and if you got a large table and they're all different combinations of things, there is so much that they have access to that it's like, even if you've memorized the player's handbook, can you really recite, okay, well, this guy's made this choice, so he's got this stuff up his sleeve, and that guy's spell choices is going to be this, so this is what he can pull. Your players have the ability to do so much that there's times where I've thought, well, this is going to be challenging, and a player's like, oh, well, I got this.
Right, or they might nerf your dragon in the first round of combat.
You know, so it's like, you know, I like to really have, like, I'm not a DM that's out there seeking blood. I'm not out there trying to kill anyone. I'm out there to tell a story, entertain the players, and make sure everybody has a good time. That's what D&D is to me. So if you can have everyone have a good time at low level and high level, great. But I feel like the players need to be challenged on a role-playing level, on a physical level, and, you know, once you cross that double-digit marker, it's a lot harder to challenge them without it being deadly.
So here's my take on that. One, I think 5th edition has fully fixed this issue. Actually, I have come a lot harder at my players recently because 5th edition has a wonderful, I think the death save is fantastic. It is very hard to kill somebody after you have knocked them to 0 hit points. They have 3 saves, right, which can contract down to 2 rolls. We all understand that,
Yep.
where, you know, if you get 1, blah. So you got to fail 2 rolls, and that means that with 3 to 4 other players, not one of them is going to go and pop a good berry in their mouth. That is, so to me, as a GM, I am really starting to lean on the death saves. I like getting characters to 0 because I have a big safety net.
Finally, me and Scott agree
right,
about.
Exactly. I feel that the death save is a major safety net, right? And so, you know, if somebody goes, and the death save is great because players are like, oh crap, I'm at a death save, right? And they're all frightened. But you as a GM, like, you're 2 rolls away from dying if you're super unlucky, and if not, one of your other, you know, players rolls up and pops a good berry in their mouth. Like, it's, you know,
now,
so it's pretty hard.
That being said, on one of our very first sessions, we had a player drop, fail his first death save, and then crit fail his second.
Right. Yeah. And so he dies. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. You're in that game, right?
Yeah.
2 sessions ago in my game, I had 3 players fail 2 saving throws for petrification. The one player, you know, remembered that he had inspiration, so he got another roll, which saved him. But the other 2 players technically died.
Wow. Yeah.
Almost 3 of them in that same session, and that's 2 failed saving throws. And it wasn't like it was a super high DC.
It was a 50-50 shot.
Well, but so
Based on the character stats, we literally had to roll an 11 or higher, and well, all three of us were in the same boat. We all had the same modifiers, and that's what wound up happening. And it was like, okay, well, Dave wound up saying, well, this was a trial type of situation, and rather than having our characters specifically die, he's like, well, you just won't get the story reward.
Yeah, it was during a vision quest. So when they came out of the vision, I was like, all right, so since it was a vision quest, I'll give you guys the out of, you're not actually petrified, but you're not going to get the reward that everyone else is going to get.
Well, but so my take though is, and you're trying to say they're equal, and I really don't feel they are, because generally players want to do more, and they want to see more, and they want to try more. Mm-hmm. And the higher up you get more feats, you get more spells, you can get more combinations and more interactions, mm-hmm. right? So that's all a distinct benefit of a higher level campaign. Mm-hmm. In addition to that, with a higher level campaign, you are closer to finishing it. Whereas the reason I don't touch low level campaigns is generally, there's a high possibility, it's probability, it's just math, that you're not going to finish it, and it's going to go to 3 to 7th. And then, somebody's going to get pregnant, or somebody's going to move, or somebody's going to, do something unusual, mm-hmm. and the group is going to change or morph or shift, or somebody wins the lottery or gets hit by a comet or something. And so low-level campaigns...
The excuses are getting more and more drastic.
Low-level campaigns are mathematically prone to be less cool and have a better ending than high level.
Then let me put this out there for sale as well. I think the concept of going from nothing to hero, so playing levels 1 through 3 to 10, you can accomplish fantastic things at 10th level and be a hero to a city or a town or a region, and it's like, wow, this guy has done this thing here, he's going to be a legend that people tell about, and you can do that at 10th level. But whereas if you start at 10th level, you either need to be what happened between 1 and 10? Do you have this massive backstory that you have to just write? Or are you someone of so import that you just naturally have, like, oh, I'm a sorcerer that's 10th level. When you came into your powers, did you come into your powers at 10th level strength? So you have all of this stuff that you have to either backstory and get that approved by the GM, or you have to come in with I don't know why this is.
Yeah, honestly, I don't feel vested in that character that I start at 10th level the same way I do from a character that I've grown up from level 1.
So I'm hearing you, right? So here's my take, okay? 8th to 18th. So there's 10 Scott Garabays, right? And we roll, a group of 5 players from 8th to 18th, okay? And there's 10 Teds out there, and they roll from 1st to 10th, okay? So my 10, right, they're going to go, like a few of them, 3 of them are going to go, we went through the whole thing and it was epic and it was awesome. And 3 of yours are going to do the same, right? And they're going to go, it was, epic and awesome. The other 7 or 5, my guys are going to go, I went from 8th to 12th and it got interrupted, but I slew a dragon. I owned a sky ship. I led an army. Your guys, you got 5 to 7 players who are like, I was at 1st and then I died at 4th, and I think there was a time where I killed a bugbear. High level.
Nice.
Right? Yeah. So that's why I play high level, right?
Come on, man. Look, Uthengar, he's only 6th level. He's broken a curse. He's murdered a townsfolk. He's been cursed. He's had so much happen to him in that short period of time. He's single-handedly got the mayor elected. He got Helmsworthy elected to be the mayor of Gryffindor.
That is an epic game. Yeah, that's weirdly, that's a 5th level epic game.
So I like to think that I put on a good game. And I've had anywhere from started off as 3 players, and at the biggest there was 9 players in that game, and there's so much that's happened over the past year in that game, and you guys are only 6th level. Do you feel that after playing this game for 8 months,
You even created a new magic item that's unique to the world.
do you feel that after having played
Well, we
True,
did.
yeah.
I helped a little bit.
do you feel that after having played this character for roughly 8 months and only being 6th level, that you don't have a draw to come back?
Well, it's a great question. I think the reason your campaign has succeeded is not because you ran at low level. It's because you have amazing players and you are an amazing GM.
Well, thank you.
And thank you. Yeah, no problem. And I think that's absolutely true. Whenever I'm like talking to people and trying to say, hey, I'm trying to give you this information to go out there, like not a lot of people have that setup, that have that, and so I'm thinking about all those dudes and how many guys out there have the first to 10 level campaign that ended at 6 or 4 or 2.
We've seen that happen.
Yeah.
And part of it, in my opinion, and we recently did a video on this, is campaign fizzle happens, but we were running games every single week, with one DM having to provide story every single time. We've shifted our situation to, Nerdarchy is running 4 games each once a month, and that's enough time frame for the GM to be able to say, okay, well, if I only have to write 1 session, well, Dave technically has to write 2, a month. That's much better than having to write a session every single week.
Here's the thing, too. I'll even challenge what you said, because we've run so many low-level games. We have so many stories that we tell from those games. Like, that part is always going to be there. It might be a little bit different on how it happens. Like the time that the half-dragon demonic Hydra stepped over the wall during the Hobgoblin invasion, and all the heads turned to look at Ted's character, and he knew he was going to be incinerated. And our half-elven fighter wizard pulls out his scroll of petrification, which he has to decide at this moment whether he's going to hold on to this and put it in his spellbook someday, or make a die roll to see if he can use it and possibly save the town. And he makes it, and that monster had to pass a saving throw or 4 or better. And I dropped the die on the middle of the table and rolled a 3. And and to this day, that statue is there straddling the wall as a reminder, and they love telling that story.
So you're right. I think that's one of the great things about D&D is, and it's another video, but
Scope
I'll throw
and scale, man. Scope and scale.
I'll throw this out. I have this whole theory, and we could do it in another video, where there's, in many ways, even a bad game of D&D can be a good game. That's a whole other topic. But one of the things, though, is in my opinion, that book is precious, and I love every spell in it, and I don't like the idea that there are many, many players who have been stuck with these low-level loving DMs who have never seen a 7th level spell. Like, there's tons of players who are not routinely using, and there's a lot of combos. And so I have my high-level stories, which I think are, I would say, cooler than even the low-level stories. One of my favorites is, I had a player, and so he had I think it was like a ball lightning spell, and it would bounce from target to target. And so it was a huge array of minis on the table, and there was like 12 targets, right? And so he starts bouncing. He goes like, I'm going to take out half of these, and I think they were maybe gnolls, right? And so he's like, I hit this guy, with 3d8, and then this guy's going to take 3d8, this guy's going to take 3d8. And so these gnolls are all arrayed in this big line, and the princess that they're saving is in the center, right? And so he gets Knoll, and all the other Knolls are on the other side of the princess, right? And he's like, they've been taking good care of her. She probably has 30, 40 hit points. I'm gonna bounce the ball of lightning off the princess and take the other Knolls. And he did it. He bounced the lightning off the other princesses. There were like 8 Knolls in a row. He took out 4 on this side, 3 on this side. There was 1 Knoll to witness it on the end, and the princess took like 22 points of damage and survived with 6 points. That's high level action, right? And that's and so you get the stories on both sides. And I feel like there's more craziness that can happen on the high end side. Like, it's just it's just, the other thing is, I can't forget it's 2015, man. And the other thing is, I truly want this game to live beyond us, and I think there's a serious threat. All 3 of us here got some age on us, and I don't see a lot of 15-year-olds picking up this game, and I want that to happen, and I think that happens with high magic.
Come November, you will.
Hopefully, yeah.
Well, no, I mean his son turns 15.
Oh, there, yeah, I hear you. Well, but is he gonna go? Is he gonna order his own copy? That's what I'm saying is, my parents did not bring D&D to me. It was some teenager who told me about it, and I went and got it. And I want something to pull these kids in, and I think high-level campaigns pull people in. You roll a 15-year-old into a low-level campaign, they're not going to get all your nuanced grognard love. They're not. It's just...
It's true. Actually, my son keeps asking, when are we going to go back to into
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Because he wants to play superheroes with powers.
Yeah, so, and, it's just one of those things.
So with that, what do you guys think about high-level campaigns versus low-level campaigns? Are you totally with Scott? Like, we have to sell them with the magic items and the levels and the razzmatazz? Or, can they get involved and just love the story? Let us know in the comments below. While you're at it, like, share, and subscribe.
You can head over to Patreon and support us there.
Until next time.
Stay nerdy.
Guys get up to the 7 range. I know that the game that Ryan ran, was up to like 12th.
Oh yeah, that was one of our higher ones
with the druid and the.
I always felt
sort of human
like,
that went to
like as DMs. Do you guys feel like there's a sweet spot?
Oh, okay. So it's a good question. So one, I am crazy high level. I absolutely reject low level campaigns. I don't actually think they're functional anymore. So I have a radically different opinion than most GMs, and I've completely adopted a new style. And this has been percolating in my mind for a few years, and I just ran a campaign which I was blessed to have Ted in. It was a 7-session campaign. We had a female player. We had people of all different ages. We started
for 2 seconds. No. The Ogre Thanes were another faction.
Okay,
but
so
the main ones were the Side Lords and the Sorcerer Kings.
Okay.
And the idea was most of the world were like floating islands, and between them was this ether that they could make out of a special material. They could make ships that would sail across the ether. Yeah, this is pre Eberron, by the way. We actually pitched the idea in their thing. I think they stole it, but
I pitched one too. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
But no, so like I started a 5th level characters, and they actually went all the way up to 18th level. Was the highest game we've ever run at our table. But before that, like all of our games, usually fizzled around 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th level.
It was usually between 7th and 12th. Is where a lot of our games died. We had a lot of guys.
That's
maybe
true.
3.
That's exactly right. Yeah, and that's right. So Dave was in there too, and even Ryan played for one session. We had 9 players at one.
I think I was actually there for 3. I think I was one there by myself.
You were there 1 by yourself, and then 2 with me.
Yeah, and then I got called back to work, and and I work nights. You guys play at night.
And it was really by far my most successful campaign ever. It was 7 sessions, and so actually it has cemented my opinion on this. So I am high level campaign with extremely fast accelerated stories. So here's my take on this whole thing. 1, I would never touch level 1 to 3 ever again in any campaign. Level 1 is level 4 now in my opinion. So I start all campaigns at 4 or higher, right? And then also if players play in a session, one session, they're guaranteed a level. Right, so I have abandoned the whole EXP for this monster, blah blah blah, and then what I try to do is I try to make every single session one module. In that the whole story is told in that, and at the end they've slain the last monster and they're at an end, and then I add 2 to 4 months of game time in which they will level 1 or 2 levels from there. And so what this allows is 7 sessions. You can go from 4th to 20th. And I want to tell those stories again and again and again and again, right? And so this is a really radical opinion of high-level campaigns, and I'm selling this. I really think everybody should be going to this. And the reason why is, again, the competition we have out there is incredible. It's Netflix, it's HBO, it's tattoos, it's the world has become, we are in a... Hi, I'm Scott Garibay, and this is Nerdarchy. Of course, we're here with Ted and Dave, and we are going to talk about high-level campaigns versus low-level campaigns.
So, Nerdarchy, for nerds, by nerds. So, what do you guys think?
So, in the like 15 years, 20 years our group has been together, we've had like one high level campaign ever. And you know, it started, I think it was a game where I was like, hey, here's a bunch of pre-gens for my custom homebrew Shattered Realm. And in that world, it was, you know, basically there was a war that was waging between the Psi Lords and
Ogre Thanes.